All right. So this is it started already. ITS128, and hello all you folks. Hello all you guys online, or maybe you're in this room. But today I'm going to have a short meeting. I'm just going to explain the midterm. Okay. So let me share my screen. I'm going to share this screen. All right, I guess I'm sharing now. And let me put that over here. Let me get rid of this, and put this up. And today is class number 16, I think, something like that. We'll get into modularizing your code next week. That's short chapter. So let's go to the midterm. If you click on assignments, you should see midterm, the midterm link here. And what I'd like you to do is, if you remember from last week, I think the last time I made this application where you can add names to the list box or something, and you can write them out. And so basically it's that, okay? And so here are the requirements for that program. Okay, so first of all, so you're going to create an application. Looks just like the one we made last time, and you have to be able to read a text file from a previously created list of friends. I showed you how to do that. A list box that displays the current list of friends. Okay, that's there, just like last time. I want you to be able to ability to write to a text file the current list of friends in a list box. Okay, I showed you how to do that. I want you to ability to add a friend to the list box. Yeah, that's got the first thing you got to know how to do. I want you to be able to select and delete a friend from the list box. Okay, so that might be a little bit more tricky, but after we go through the whole thing and you watch this little video here that I made, you should be able to kind of figure out how to do that. And I will show you, I'll probably give you some serious hints next Tuesday. But you may want to get all the other stuff working by next Tuesday, and then we can do all this extra kind of touch-up stuff. Yeah, it's pretty straightforward. You select, and you can have a button. So you select a friend from the list box, and then you click on a button saying delete this person, and then that event handler should be able to see what the selected index was, and then you can do this copy to a hidden list box and copy back to it again. A trick that I explain in this video here. I made this video last night or yesterday. And then the last thing I want you to do is the ability to sort the contents of the list box. Okay, that's what I show you how to do in this video. And this video is only like 12 minutes, and I give you the code, and I show you how to do it. I show you how to sort the list box. And I think that this is a good video because it kind of introduces you to the kinds of sort of tricks that you will develop. You'll kind of see how a computer scientist thinks, and how you have a problem in front of you, and then you have this sort of bag of tricks or this bag of tools, and you figure out how to take what you got, take the tools that you know how to do, things you know how to do, and how to apply them in possibly a roundabout way to get to where you want to go. And normally, okay, just so you know, when we get into arrays, here, then the array classes have built-in sort. Okay, so you may, you know, you may become a programmer, become a professional programmer, and write programs all your life and never have to write a sort program. Okay, but because these days these classes that we write our code on top of, you know, like the .NET framework and all that has built-in sorting methods already. And turns out that there are several different kinds of sorts, probably about 10 different kinds of sorts, depending on how the data is, if it's sparse, if there's if it's almost sorted already, or or if it's huge, if it's a huge data set or a small data set, or maybe you've got a data set that's already sorted, and then you're just going to add a few more records to it. And after you add the records, you want it to still be sorted. You know, that's all. Those are all different kinds of sort methods that you would use, you know, optimally. And these classes have gotten pretty good at sort of looking at the data and choosing the most appropriate, the optimal sort method for you to apply. There's also things like a stable sort and an unstable sort, and, you know, that kind of stuff. So if this were you know, ITS128 or something, it's one of these algorithms classes, and you were studying to be a computer scientist and maybe a graduate student in computer science, then you would have to know how to code all those things, and you'd have to be able to figure out the computational complexity of these algorithms and so on. You're going to have to become familiar with the concept of computational complexity at some point in your programming career, but you will become aware of that concept when the time comes. When you're faced with a nice, elegant program that you've written, but the data set is just too big, and you got to figure out how to make the program faster, and you can't just put it on a faster processor. Okay, so you got to figure. So that is a very strong motivator for learning these few little tricks and so on, and how to speed up your code. But anyway, in this midterm, we are going to we're going to sort, and we're only going to use the tools that we know about already. And so basically the approach is, let me see if I can start this up a little bit.
Hello. This video, I'm going to show you how you can sort the items in a list box, knowing just what we know now.
So
start with a form with a text box to enter a name.
So it's only 12 minutes, so you should read it.
Store the names as
but if let me go forward here.
Written already, and I'll go through it.
Got some code there for you.
And
show you all the code. You can write the code and everything. Just copy. Okay, here. Let me stop here. Okay, so the way this algorithm works is okay. So you have this part here, this first part here that I'm circling. That's sort of your midterm. You're going to have that part. And in this particular video, I put the sorted stuff over here. Let me go further here. Yeah, here. Okay, so the sorted stuff is over here. So see, I've got these. It's actually I've got a message box here that displays out each time it figures out the next name to sort over. Let me just go a little bit farther here. Okay, so here the way this works. Let me go back a little bit. Okay, so the way this algorithm works is first of all, you've typed in a bunch of names here, and just like you have to do in your midterm, and then to sort, okay, the person clicks on the sort button, and here's what happens behind the sort. Here's what happens. First of all these names here, let me get rid of this more videos crap. First of all these names here are copied down into this little list box right here. Just copy them over, okay? And then Okay, so once that's done, then we just operate on this little list box here. And the first thing we do is we scan and go through all the names to find the lowest one. So in this case, the lowest one looks like would be George. J-F-G-H-I-J-K, George. So it scans this thing. First it scans it, finds the lowest one, and you can find the lowest one. You know how to do that. You have you can start out by setting the lowest one equal to John, okay? And then you go to the next one. Is John greater than Paul? No, it's not. Is John greater than George? Yes, it is. So now George is the new lowest one. Is George greater than Ringo? No, it's not. And then is George greater than George? No, it's not. So by scanning all these names one at a time going down the line, you can keep track and figure out what the lowest one is, what the lowest one alphabetically is. Okay. So once you've done that, you have George. George is the lowest one. Then what we do is we scan again, and as we scan, if we come across George, then we put George up here. Okay, so this is where the results are going to be.
Look, there's two of them. Okay, and both Georges get copied over.
Okay, so that. So what happens is the one that you've picked out as the lowest gets copied up here into this big list box here, and this is where the results are going to be. And the rest of them get copied over here into this second little list box here. Okay, so that's why after this was done, you saw George, because that's the lowest one. George is up here, and the rest of them are down here. John, Paul, and Ringo are down here. Okay, then we do it again. We scan this one. Oh, okay, no. So John, Paul, and George are over here. Okay, so we've done with that first pass. Then what we do is we copy this from this list box back over to this list box, and that's why you see the duplicate there. And then we do the process again. So the next time we scan through here, we find that John is the lowest. So then we go through it again, and John gets put up here, and Paul and Ringo end up over here. So
what's left is John, Paul, and Ringo. And new low is John. So let's click OK, and then John gets copied over, and what's left is Paul and Ringo.
Okay, so we just keep on going.
And then Paul is the lowest one, so let's click OK. Paul gets copied over, and then all that's left is Ringo. That's the lowest one, obviously. OK, and
okay. So I got some sound effects in there too. I actually made this video because of this class I'm taking on. I'm taking a class on how to make online classes. We at KCC, they have us do that, and so this was one of my assignments. So I did this yesterday, and I thought, and I did it purposely because I'm making the online class for this class, and so I thought I'd do this and then I test it out with you guys. But anyway, so once we have this all done and working, then these list boxes down here, you can make them invisible. There's a property, there's a visible property, which is way at the end, way at the bottom, and you can set them to be invisible.
See that with John, Paul, George, Ringo, and George, sorted names would be George, John, Paul, and Ringo. Okay, great. Let's see what this looks like when we run this quickly. Let's get rid of this message box here and run this again. And here we are. And so we can say John, Peter, maybe Michael, Ringo. And we can just sort. And I just quickly saw it flash down here. John, Michael, Ringo. Those are sorted in order. Let's exit. And so what we can do last is we can click on this and make it visible.
See, we make them invisible.
And this, visible. And shrink up this form a little bit and run it one final time. And we can say Peter, Pete, Michael, Davey, John, Bingo.
Does anybody know who those people are?
George.
You know who those people are?
And let's see.
Well, there's the, yeah.
Passed away, I think. John
You're
passed
talking
away.
about
No.
Passed away.
The monkeys.
And,
Peter Tork just died.
we sort these. Here we are. Davey, George, John, Michael. Well, Peter, Ringo. Sorted and alphabetical. All right. So that's how we sort the contents of a list box without any arrays, without knowing about indexing items or anything else.
All right, so, oops.
So Laura,
Oh, stop this thing.
this video I'm going to show you
Right,
how
so-
to sort the items in a list box, knowing just what we know now.
Okay, so, and so with this trick of using hidden list boxes and scanning and copying them over, and then when you're done copying over, you take the whole thing and copy it back, and so on. That's how we can also select and delete a friend. We can click on the name that we're going to delete, and then we click on a button that says delete this guy, and the event handler for that button will go in and look and see which name is selected, which name you clicked on, and then you can copy over all of the names in the list box except for the name that was selected. So then you have this in this hidden list box, you have the new set. You have the new set of friends, excluding that guy that you wanted to delete. And then you can just take that hidden list box and copy them all over into the first list box again, and it happens really fast. So it ends up looking like you just deleted the thing. You copy everybody over except for the one you want to delete into this hidden list box, and then you delete the main. You clear out the first list box, and you copy it over, and then you copy it over. Now, when I was last semester when I taught this course, I had the same sort of exercise where we had a list of friends and we created a list of friends and we deleted friends and everything. But instead of using a hidden list box, I used the text file. Okay, so it's kind of dumb. You write out the text, and the text file was actually this intermediate list box sort of thing. And this semester I thought about it, and that's kind of dumb because you would never really use a text box, or did I say text box? I mean text file. Text file. You would use a file to code on to the intermediate stuff, and that's you're reading the text file. You write out to the text file. You copy it back in. You delete the text file. And all that. And sometimes you use two text files, and there are cases. There's programming, cases where you would use a text file because it's a huge data set and there's not enough RAM and memory. Or with databases, you may certainly do that. You've got a huge data set, huge data table, and you need some intermediate tables to keep track of stuff as you're trying to create this new data set. But for these little problems, just having a second list box that we end up hiding, we end up making invisible, that's a perfectly relevant way of doing it. And in fact, it's very common that you have intermediate lists or intermediate arrays. When we get into chapter 7, and we learn about arrays and lists, we'll see that a list is exactly like a list box. That's exactly what it is, except for we're learning list boxes early because we're learning about controls that appear on a form. And we've learned about checkboxes, we've learned about radio buttons, and now we also learn about list boxes because it's a pretty commonly used control. We've learned about drop-down menus and so on. But a list box is just like a list, but a list is just like a variable. It's just another type of variable. So far, we've learned about int and decimal and double and string. We've learned about those kinds of variables. And once we get into chapter 7, we're going to learn about arrays and lists. And later on we're going to learn about enumerated types. So these are just additional types of variables. It turns out that arrays are an array is also typed, because you can have an array of strings, or you can have an array of integers, or an array of decimal numbers. Just like a string itself is an array of characters. So it all kind of we start to see the same thing over and over again. But when we get into chapter 7 and we learn about lists, we can see that we can do this sorting thing, the same way, but instead of creating an intermediate list box which we have to hide, we can just create a list, and we don't have to hide it. It's hidden. It's in our code. It's not displayed anywhere. So and we would use it the same way. Okay, so that's the midterm. It's so I'd like you to think about it and give it a start. And so I've covered the program requirements. If we just look at the assignment requirements, we have I want the list box, the label, the button text, and the text boxes all to be 12-point font. So you're going to set that in the properties. It's defaulted to whatever your Visual Studio at home or whatever defaults to. Mine defaults to 7.8 point. But and then I'd like you to make it so when you hit the return key, it automatically it's like the invoking the add name event handler, and when you watch the video, you can see the code for that. It's you just set the accept property of the form, and then I want you to make it so names have to be at least 2 characters long. So it has to be at least 2 characters. There's people with 2-character names. If it's a 1-character name, I just would rather have it 2 characters, and that way you avoid the case of accidentally hitting the add name button, and you didn't type anything in the text box, and so there ends up being a blank line. I don't want you to have any blank lines. List boxes holding intermediate results should be invisible. One thing about this video, and what I want you to do is, in this video, you'll notice that there's the list box, which contains the original stuff you typed in, and then a second list box which contains the sorted stuff. I want you to do one more step and have the sorted stuff also be hidden, and then once you're done sorting it, you copy that over to the original list box. So that way there's only one list box. You click the sort button and boom, it shows everything sorted. It happens so fast that you don't, so it's all behind the scenes. And then, I probably won't do it in this class, but there's one problem I could have you do, which would force you not to use the sort methods that come with the array class and comes with the list classes, but it's still a sorting thing, and that would be like if I were to ask you to sort where the name, we sort by number of characters in the name, or sort by number of letters in the name, where shorter names are at the top and longer names are at the bottom. Okay, there's no method for that. There's no built-in method for that. You actually have to write something like how you're doing, like what you have to do here. So there is a value to learning these slightly more complex algorithms where in a lot of cases it's just going to be built in, but in some cases, maybe not. I want you to, your controls and event handlers are named appropriately to take advantage of IntelliSense, and that's important in this class. When you get into 140, I've mentioned this before, when you take 148, the textbook we used already has you use that convention. But that way, like, you're going to have 4 list boxes right there, and you're going to want to, you're going to do something with the list box, like set the selected index or something, and it's nice to be able just to type LST, and then boom, all the list boxes are there, and so. And also, I'd like you not to have any empty event handlers. Sometimes you'll make a mistake and you'll you want to change the text of a label, so you inadvertently just double click on the label and then boom, you end up with an event handler for clicking the label. And I'd like you to get good at knowing how to remove those, get rid of them. I'll show you how to do that. And so there's some of these things I'll cover on Tuesday and Thursday, just to remind you. So if as you're doing this, you have to make sure not to delete things in the wrong order, because then your Visual Studio doesn't work anymore. Last semester, so many times people would have to start all over again, and we don't want to do that. So if you're not sure how to do it, just leave it, and we'll cover that in class. And then, so to hand in, I want you to just zip up the project and attach it below. Now, for this assignment, I'd like you to hand it in by March 10th. So this is not the same as the rest of the assignments. March 10th is like a week from this coming Sunday, so it's still a lot of time. You get all of next week to do it. And actually, it doesn't show the drop dead date here, but the drop dead date is a week later. So really you have till March 17th. And March 17th is the day, is like just before spring break. Okay. Whereas all the other assignments, the drop dead date is like at the end of the semester. But again, something happens, and you can't, for some reason you can't get it in, just ask me and I'll extend it for you, because I'd rather have you do it late than not do it at all. I don't want there to be an excuse for, well, I couldn't do it because I was past the drop dead date, and I go, oh yeah, well, all right, extend the drop dead date. Now you got to do it. So I'll probably take off some points, but it would still be way worth it for you to do it. We have spring break. I'm not going anywhere spring break. My family is going to take off and go to the mainland and have some fun. I'm going to stay here, figure out how to do that robot thing. I'm not going to take the robot home, and the robot's going to be here. So if you want to, so if something happens and you're really stuck and you end up going into spring break, that's okay. I'll be here, and you can maybe I'll make you dance with the robot or something. All right, so let me just confirm that drop dead date. I'm going to sign into my Laulima. And that would be 120. assignments, midterm. Yes, except until March 17th. Whereas the rest of them are like assignment 5 is except until May 3rd. So for assignments, I think May 3rd is that like the last day of class or something? It's yeah, right. Last instructional week. Because assignments, because I have to grade assignments, and for quizzes, of course, it's like quizzes are later. I think. Let me settings. Quizzes are May, yeah, May 10th, which is the last day of finals, I think. Oh no, it's the last day of finals. Yeah, I have to have my grades in on the 14th or something like that. So yeah, these are the actual. Uh, these are the drop dead dates, and of course for assignments they have to be a little bit earlier because I got to be able to grade everybody. If everybody waits, it never happens. But there's usually a sizable chunk. I mean, it's not going to be anybody here because you guys are all coming to class. You guys are diligent students and everything. But and those of you out there that are actually online right now. But I know some of you. Today is February 28th. Some of you, I know it's May 1st. Yeah, and you're watching this video for the first time, and so just so you know that what. So anyway, very good. So that's all I have for today, and so I encourage you to get started and to see how far you get with what you know right now, and come back next week, and we can answer all your questions both Tuesday and Thursday. And so I'll answer your questions in class Tuesday and Thursday. You can email me if you have questions. It's try it out. Email me, and I'll likely answer the questions in class, so everyone has the benefit of learning about learning how to do something. And then after that, you would still have one more week before spring break, and if it's that late, then I would answer questions individually for you. So any more questions? All right. So I will see you on Tuesday. Thanks for watching.